Hello everyone, Swaroop here. Today's presentation is going to be on PHP making use of PDO along with MySQL. How MySQL will be extracting data with the help of jQuery AJAX function. There will be a series of video coming up. This is part 1 in which I will be only focusing on select query of MySQL. So let's start. This is the page where I have written few line of coding, and this page will involve the execution of extraction from database. The value will be displayed in the PHP page. So let me just run the page, and as you can see the output, you will be able to figure out. So initially there will be one login page where the user is supposed to give the credential, and as the credential is found to be valid, the dashboard gets opened. Now, before I hit this particular button, stream, my client requirement is immediately as the user clicks this particular tab, the data associated to this particular option. So let's go to the table part even. So here is a table called stream-table. In this particular table, there are 4 tuples associated. What the client requirement is, as this particular option is selected, the associated data should get populated in the page right over here, and that should come without user interference just by clicking this tab. So let's do that. As I click this, you can see over here the data getting populated. So this is my client requirement. That means, other way around to say, immediately as the page gets loaded in RAM, the table which contains associated data should be populated in the PHP page. So how to do that? And this is where that comes is the ready function of jQuery. So let's see what the thing is all about. Here is my PHP page, and here is my ready function. So ready is the function that gets fired immediately as the page gets loaded in the RAM. And what ready function has done? It has given call to a show function. This is a customized function developed by me, and as I scroll up, you can find the show function that I have written. In the show function, I have just given a call to asynchronous JavaScript using XML. The asynchronous word refers to creating a multiple thread. What do I mean by that? Well, when we run any application, by default there will be one thread which will be associated with the given process. But if I go for asynchronous, it will create another thread whereby you are not putting any kind of pressure on the main thread. So subsequently, you are letting the main thread can work independent, while the concurrent thread execution will improvise multitasking, thereby the application processing speed will be pretty fast, like what we see in case of WhatsApp. Suppose there is a chat person who have uploaded a video, and you click that video. As the video gets downloaded, you can again switch over to some other chat interaction that can be going on. So in and out of these two features will be only possible if multiple thread is working. So let's see what the AJAX function has got. Well, before I step into the AJAX function, I should tell you that this is a callback mechanism. Callback mechanism means, like over here, there are a few arguments, okay? All these arguments will not work in sequential. Rather, the function knows which argument to work first, followed by, from here, it will switch over to another page, like what you can see over here, stream-update, stream-db page. It will switch over here. We'll come to this particular page in a moment. So, and then after executing this particular page, it will again get back to this particular segment. So context switching is what going to take place in context to callback mechanism. So let's see what the AJAX function has got. The first argument tells us URL, that which particular page it has to navigate. Do remember, when we are giving call to the AJAX function, it will be creating another thread, and in that thread, these parameters are going to be executed. So this is the page that it will be going to redirect itself. Like while it is moving from stream.php to stream-db.php, obviously it should carry some data. So what data it should carry? this is the portion of the segment which will say what data it is carrying. Right now it is carrying a data called show, and this is a value part which will be initialized in the key variable over here. So action is going to play a very important role as it is working as a key. Now you might be wondering what this particular thing is doing. I will show you in a moment. So naturally, as you pass some data from stream.php to stream-db, there should be a question of encryption, because there might be people who would try to steal the data. So encryption mechanism is going to be post. Okay, so that means the data will not be shown in the URL as its switching takes place. Now while you move to this particular page, there might be a scenario where the connectivity is going to take place a little bit longer time. So how do you make the user aware that the process is going on? And because of that reason, you have something called before send option or before send argument. You can see that this is a little bit dim in color in context to other parameters. That means this is the optional part. You may give, you may not give. No issue about that. But before I talk about the before send function, one more thing I need to talk about that. In the page where you are going to display the output, like what I'm showing you right over here, this is a segment where you can see the output. You also need to create one more div tag. Okay, so let me scroll a little bit up. I will show you that I have created one div tag over here. This div tag will be just have an ID, and it will contain no data over here. The data will be populated at the runtime as the page gets work. So this is a segment where the data will be displayed as it comes from stream-db.php page. So the div tag has to be there. Okay, now coming back to before send, what we are doing is that as we connect to the server side page, and eventually from the server side page the data will come back to this particular page. While this process is going on, there will be an image that will be loaded, and it will be showing you that the progress is going on, so that the user should have the patience that till the data comes, it should not, like, he should not be distracted. Okay, now in my computer, since the database is local, so very naturally it will be able to connect the data immediately. But just to give you a clue that the thing is going to work, so what I will do is that I will intentionally make a mistake over here, and I will put a extra letter W which do not exist in my actual program. So naturally the thing will not get fired, the data will not come to this particular page, and while that thing takes place, this image will keep on loading. Okay, so let me just refresh this particular page, and please take a note over here. So as I refresh over here, you will find that this is the image I was talking about. Again, I'm refreshing. This is the image I was talking about, which is going to work as the progress is going to take place. Okay, but if it is a correct and actual data will be when it is there, immediately this particular div tag will be replaced by the data over there. So let me get back to the actual format. So naturally what happens, this is the correct statement. So after the execution of the first 4 arguments, it will immediately go to this particular page, and this is where the context switching is taking place. As it comes to this particular page, do remember it was carrying the data in the form of show, that is there in the key which is called action. So here the first thing what I need to do is that I have to receive that particular variable into this particular variable which is the PHP. And prior before that, as I have said already in my previous lecture, that there should be a database connectivity that has to be done using, and I'm using the PDO, PHP.object. So that's the reason the first line is involved, which will tell me where the database is located and what is the credential to connect to that database. Okay, so here the word that is the show which gets stored in this particular PHP variable. Now I'm performing a switch case. Before I talk something about this particular page, one more thing I need to tell you, that is, this particular page is going to play the role of model according to MVC architecture. Model is such kind of page where all the database related queries has to be written. So you should not write the database queries outside the model. That means inside the model, the very first thing one has to do is which particular database query you need, there should be a way of identifying, and that is what going to be performed in case of switch case, because as I already said, this is a page where all the database query has to be written. So you need to distinguish, you need to identify uniquely that this is a page which this is a SQL query which I need to fire. So inside this action, the value show which I have already passed over here will be stored. Now that show comes over here, and it has been compared with every case. So show is compared with save. It is not true. So this particular segment is not going to work. But over here, there is a match that has been found. So naturally, this particular code segment is going to work now. In this particular segment, what I'm doing is that, do remember, I have to populate the record over here, and let me refresh once again after the correction which I have made. So here I have to populate the data, and while the data gets populated, it has to be in a table format. In HTML, the table format requires a table header, which will be the form of a table row, and then there is going to be individual TR, and within that TR, there will be TD. So over here, 4 TDs are involved for each TR, and that has to be done with the help of this particular show case. So here what I have done is I have declared a PHP variable called HTML, and I have initialized that so that the garbage value gets off. And then I have used the shorthand notation whereby $HTML equals to $HTML plus this entire statement. Now this statement we do know is a statement associated to HTML, but PHP is not aware about that. So inside this variable, as a mere statement, the whole thing gets saved. Okay, and here the quotation gets closed. So later on I have to rewrite this particular HTML variable with some extra piece of code. But prior before that, I have written the SQL command with regard to the extraction of data from the given table, as I have shown in my database over here. So this is a table where from the data has been extracted, and the data will be coming in context to two attributes, stream ID and stream name. So everything gets stored right inside this particular variable in the form of an object. But as you can see in the output, I have to show the data in a separate TD within a single TR. So I need to chop them into pieces, and for that reason I have to make use of scope resolution followed by fetch associate, which will convert my object into a 2D array. This 2D array will help me to execute the for each loop where the entire chunk of tuples I should say will be in this variable. From there, one tuple will be stored in this particular variable, and from that variable, in basis of the attribute name, as you can see right over here, this is the attribute name which is uniquely help me to identify the value, and that value will be stored within the PHP variable. So here first attribute value gets stored and the second attribute value again gets stored. So after performing this particular segment of PHP, again I get back to this particular variable $HTML. So here I complete the TR portion which I started initially, and as a result, this entire first row of the TR, if you consider this whole segment, gets prepared. Okay, do remember this thing is not getting displayed right in this particular page because we are inside the callback mechanism of jQuery. Okay, now the TR for the next row is going to be populated, and in that TR I'm displaying the first value which I have stored in this variable, the second value which I have stored in this variable. As a result, you can see the value 1 and you can see the value ITS. Okay, after doing that, I'm creating two more rows. Here I'm creating something very important, and in my next video I will be talking about this. In this video I will just focus on its selection part of record. Here what I'm doing is that I'm regenerating an image, and I'm converting that image as if like a button click. On that click event, I'm going to give a call to another function, and within that function I'm passing the stream ID which I have been successfully able to restore it from this particular variable. Okay, so in the similar way, I'm creating another image which will be representing for my delete, and that will be also giving a call to a method called delete_data, and within that I'm passing the unique ID of that particular data. Don't worry, in my upcoming videos I will be talking about these two functions as well. So as a result, this TR gets closed. So in this way, the whole iteration is going to take place, and finally what I'm going to do is that I will be closing the table tag which I've started at the very beginning of this particular case, that is show. So here the table tag gets closed, and then what I'm doing, I'm performing an echo function. In this echo, don't think that whatever I have written over here will be displayed over here. No, this is not what is going to take place. This is the sweetness of the callback mechanism of the jQuery. So from here, the data will be simply sent back to the argument called success. So success is responsible for receiving the data from stream-db page. But before the success gets fired, I have to tell this jQuery method that what type of value am I receiving? I am receiving the value in the form of an HTML. Do remember, this can be also different type. It can be JSON format even, but for the time being, I'm receiving the HTML data. Don't get yourself confused with this HTML and this HTML. This is a format of file extension type, which can be HTML, .html, or it can be .json. And this is just a mere PHP variable which can be of any name, just to make a just to help the student understand that I'm just passing over a value which are of type HTML. I have declared a variable in the form of $HTML. It can be anything, whatever you want. So once this particular value comes over here, this particular extension will tell that what value it has received. Now the success function already received the value of this $HTML inside this particular variable called data. Okay, so data stores the value of $HTML, which is a PHP variable. Now I have to display the content, okay, that data stores in the form of HTML function. This is another jQuery function which helps in setting value within a div tag. As I already showed you initially that I have created one div tag prior before I started call of this particular function. This div tag will be used as a locator where the data is going to be dumped. So HTML function of the jQuery will simply dump the content of this particular variable into this particular div tag. As a result, subsequently, you get to see this whole segment. Well, I know this particular video has been pretty long, and frankly speaking, this is pretty complicated stuff. I would suggest my viewers that please play this video again and again until this whole segment is clear. And still, if you have got any query, you should ask me in my next class. And in my upcoming video, I will be talking about how to perform the insert operation of this particular page. So in this video, I was just focusing on what will be happening as the ready function get executed, and without user doing anything, how the data will be displayed in the page that will be extracted from the given table. So in my next video, I will be talking about this segment. Until then, have a nice time.